everyone, and welcome back to SF Live. I'm your host, Myrna Lim. Tonight we have a very special show. We will be talking about mental health. We have a couple of guests. The first one is the chair of the San Francisco Mental Health Board, Lara Arguelles, and our second guest is a family advocate, LaVaughn King. It's very timely that we're talking about mental health today. In the last few days, we have seen and talked about the passing of a well-beloved entertainer, an icon, Whitney Houston, who had been a victim of drug abuse and lost a lot of her God-given talent to that unfortunate addiction. So tonight we'd love to talk to Lara Arguelles and LaVaughn King. How are you guys doing?
We're fine, thank you.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's talk about the Mental Health Board. It's an advisory board, a citizen advisory board. Tell us about it.
Well, we advise the mental health department about the needs of consumers
Okay.
and their families about mental health and substance abuse issues.
Right.
And we report to the Board of Supervisors.
Right. Now, how many members are there in the board?
There are 17 seats on the board,
And these are
and
citizens.
they're comprised of consumers
Right.
and family members and mental health professionals
Right.
and public interest.
Right. Okay, you're a family advocate and you served on the mental health board for a while there, right?
Yes, that is right.
So how long were you in the mental health board?
I was there approximately 4 years.
Right.
Yes.
And has there been much change since you've left, since you were a member of the board and since you've left, as far as the needs that the citizens have for mental health services, you think?
I would say there has been some change, definitely. We look at meeting people where they are
Right.
and catering to those needs
Right.
and having more programs that
Right.
do include consumers,
Right.
more people speaking out for what they feel they need to,
Right.
and people that sit on the board, on the mental health board,
Right.
to bring to our attention things that have not been addressed.
Right. Now, you are also as a family advocate, you had been involved in the healing circle.
That is correct. I'm still involved in the healing
Okay.
circle. Yes.
I had interviewed a gentleman named George Duran,
Yes.
and I visited at least a couple of times when I was filming a documentary regarding some African American youth who were killed in
Yes.
Clear Lake, and that was the saddest scenario I've seen. It's like mind-boggling. Took me a while to process it, but so I went in this room, the church on San Jose Avenue, and all those women, and basically there are the families, mothers, sisters, relatives of kids who were killed at some form of another, and what came out of that was that a lot of these kids did not expect to live up to 18 years old. Isn't that?
That is true.
Yeah.
I attended those circles, and I started the circle for the Visitation Valley area.
Okay.
And we cater to family members who
Right.
have loved ones who've
Right.
been diagnosed with mental illness.
Right.
So it's still a healing circle,
Right.
but if there's a death, of course, we minister to the needs of those
Right.
families. However, we look more to helping families learn
Right.
how to cope, tell them where the resources are, let them come and
Right.
sit and express what they're feeling
Right.
in an environment that's conducive for growth,
Right.
and where they don't have to say that in front of their loved one,
Right. Right.
because it's very private.
Okay. In the mental health board, you have meetings and you advise the board of supervisors,
The mental health department.
the mental
you
health
know,
department.
About the needs.
What kind of needs do you see? Have you seen like in the last?
Well, first of
few
all,
years.
you know, the since we have the consumers
Right.
as members and the family members also.
Right.
So we are able to gather the information of what they really need, the consumers
Right.
really need
Right.
and want, and also what help with us, the family members who are taking care of our children.
Okay, what do
our
they
loved one.
need? What do the consumers need? What sort of?
Well, more services.
Yeah.
You know, to we have this unique program.
Right.
It's called the wellness program.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And we have seen how successful it is.
Right.
And this is one of the services that we would like to expand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, the need is for every consumer to
Right.
have a therapist, a social worker,
Right.
a primary care physician.
Right.
That is one of the greatest needs. And that way they have someone that they can go to for their medical needs and
Right.
primary care. They need to check in with a therapist. They need a social worker to advocate for
Right.
them.
Right. And what are the demographics of the mental health patients that you're seeing?
Well,
What are the?
well, right now, with the community behavioral health services, we're providing their mental health services approximately 28,000 children, youth, and adults with mental health issues, and another additional of 8,000 people with substance abuse.
Right.
You know, and we have the ethnicity broken down. We have 36.6% white, 17.3 Asian, 18.3 African American, 13.5 Hispanics, 13.3 others, and 1% Native American.
Right.
And it is the reason we are able to give services with the diverse ethnicity of the city is that
Right.
because also at the mental health board we are comprised of different diverse ethnicities.
right.
Yeah.
And to add to that,
Right.
there are a lot of young people and seniors that haven't been diagnosed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Because many families keep that hush-hush. That's something we're not going to talk about. So Uncle Bill talks to himself, but he's doing fine, so we're not going to address that. Or the child is acting out in school,
Right.
and they're thinking, well, it'll get better. But we need programs for early education as well.
Well, what kind of diagnosis have you seen? Are you seeing? I mean, that's needed. I mean, are there a lot of kids now, more so than ever, getting into drugs, substance abuse? Is that?
I don't know if it's more than ever, but I think it's been ongoing, and I
Right.
think traumatic stress disorder, and I say traumatic stress
Right.
disorder instead of post because we're experiencing it now.
Yeah.
It's much like people in the military,
Right.
and they lose so many loved ones at an alarming rate.
Right.
So there's a lot of depression, and it's going undiagnosed.
Right.
And you wonder why they act out, because
Right.
they need some healing.
Right.
And the other question you asked was?
Well, we're talking about two issues of the mental health itself per se, and I guess we're talking about some kind of the mental health diseases, right? I mean, would that be like bipolar or
Well, there's the traumatic
schizophrenia?
stress, as I said.
Traumatic
There's
stress.
bipolar. There's schizophrenia.
Right,
There's
right.
paranoid
Oh, yeah,
schizophrenia.
And then we have substance abuse,
Schizoaffective.
otherwise who are kids who are otherwise quote normal kids, who suddenly find themselves becoming addicted to
Well, let's ask
alcohol
the question.
or
Yeah,
drugs.
but who's normal?
Right.
What's normal? Because many people self-medicate.
Hmm.
They use drugs to numb that pain. And some, if they are very hyper, then they'll get a drug like maybe heroin to keep them slowed down. Or if they're very slow, they might use cocaine or methamphetamines to speed
Those are
them up.
kind of aren't those expensive though?
Some are, but if you want something, you get it. So many times as parents, things come up missing out of our home, and they're gonna get what they need.
Right.
Yeah. But if we have a system that
Right.
can minister to these young people in the schools, we need those programs.
Right.
We need the families to be educated what to look for when they see their child acting out. Why are they missing school? How come things are coming up missing in our homes?
And one of the challenges that we have, and you just brought it up, is that the what do you call it, because people don't want to talk about it. What's that term?
The stigma.
Stigma. The stigma is so
yes.
much, especially
Right.
Asian American people from Southeast Asia and Latinos. There are those are some of the ethnic groups also that are underserved, and because of the stigma, and like LaVaughn says, they'd rather wanna just keep it in the family, and that's one of what we would like at the mental health, but also to educate everybody and fight that stigma. If you are rich, I mean, you've known that, they could have their loved one be
Right.
treated,
Right.
but how about the other people who have no access to money except,
Right,
what we
right,
could
right.
give them
But if the
and the
child is ill,
department,
no matter how much money you have, you can't
Yeah.
wave a magic wand
That's
and
true.
make them
Right.
better.
Yeah.
They have to get treatment.
Right. Well, here's the thing. A friend of mine, she's an elderly, and she has a daughter who has been a meth addict,
Okay.
who has a 10-year-old daughter who was married to a guy who they're doing drugs together, and the guy went to jail for some reason, and then was in jail for 3 years, and he came out of it clean. Uh, that would have been a better fate for this daughter, this my colleague's daughter, if that had happened to her. But unfortunately, she's been a meth addict for the last 15 years or so. But the problem, it seems, is there's really nothing to do for them. You cannot force them into a treatment. If she gets caught stealing, she gets busted like for 10 days and out, after 10 days, and then she's back to the crack house
Right.
doing
Well,
drugs.
To say to that, what you have to do is
Right.
learn to lovingly detach. And they
Right.
have groups that parents can go to,
Right.
Al-Anon,
Yeah.
and they can sit in the rooms and they can learn better coping mechanisms so that the rest of the family doesn't suffer.
Right.
Because you've got to, as a parent, put the mask on first.
Right.
You got to take care of yourself first so you can minister to the rest of your family.
Well, I mean, rich people can go to rehab, right? I mean, how many times have they, you know, name the actor Lindsay Lohan? She's been in and out of rehab. I mean, now Demi Moore and so on and so forth. But they can afford rehab, right? Now, for the average person, is there such a thing, or that people can access?
But the person's got to want the help.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
true.
have all the
Yeah.
money and you go like a revolving door.
Yeah.
But until something happens within you
Right.
and you want it,
Yeah.
I could want it for my child, she can want it for hers, but
Right.
nothing can help them but themselves.
Huh. So with the mental health board, you have people who come to your meetings, right? And talk about this sort of conversation we're having now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then what do you do when people come to you and say, well, here are the issues, here are the problems. Then you advise.
Well, because we have non-profit contractors, who will provide services for the mental health
Right.
with people with mental health challenges.
Right.
And so this is then we refer them to all these places, and normally, Myrna, those services are the one who come to us, and we also visit its
Right.
facility so that we are sure that the mentally challenged get best quality services. And so that's what we do to improve the quality of what they get. And like LaVaughn said, it is because I have a daughter,
Right.
and it's what you could do, you just have to be there supporting, and then
Right.
see to it and put them try and match them with the service that they are
Right.
can be happy, or they get what they need.
Right.
But and it's a long process, and they have to be also one. But
Yeah, they have to want
yeah,
that change.
And
Huh?
this
Yeah.
is the other thing, and Lara spoke very well to that. This is the other thing. I teach a class
Yeah.
for 12 weeks. It's a 12-week commitment for family members who have loved ones that are having troubles. And we take them 12 Saturdays. It's 3
Right.
months. And they commit themselves to it, and we teach them everything about the brain, about the illness, about the medications, how to advocate for their child.
Right.
And when they finish, they get a certificate. And when they come in, they're long-faced, they're downhearted, but somewhere in the middle, there's something happens in the psychic, and they get a ray of hope. And many of those children turn out much, much better because the family is educated, because the family knows how to minister to that child.
Right, right.
They know where the resources are because we can point them to them. We
Right.
teach them how to talk to the doctor so
Right.
they don't feel afraid. How many people don't even know those words? It can be scary.
Right.
If you can't go in and
Yeah.
articulate those needs, you need someone to advocate for you. And that's
Right.
what we do. We teach the class. I'm also a state trainer. I can
Right.
train the trainers. And we're looking to have so many people
Right.
having groups, having circles, that we can start the healing process at a much rapid rate with the
Right.
proper help.
So when you advise the board of supervisors,
No,
what do you tell the board of supervisors?
no, the health department. We report to the board of supervisors. Well, we specifically, tell them what the needs are,
Right.
and because when we visit this facility, Myrna,
Right.
we not only talk to the directors, we speak also to the consumers, what they expect or what they need, what their needs that are not met, and those are the things that we tell the department, and then and improve the services. And like LaVaughn says, it takes the whole family,
Takes
a
to
village.
yeah.
And,
Takes a
and
village,
she
yes,
mentioned
yeah.
to you, Lara, that we have on the board consumers.
Yes.
They can articulate those needs better than we could in 100 years.
Right,
Because
right.
they're suffering the being on the street or maybe drugged to jail when really they should have been
Yes.
taken to the hospital.
Okay.
So,
okay.
and that's the beauty of having a board that's so diverse.
Right.
You have the voices of those young people and older people to speak up to those needs.
Right. So you're under the you're under the health department, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that? How do you interact with the health department? They have a huge budget. They have a big responsibility. They have the hospitals, Laguna Honda, SF General,
Well, what we do,
and then
actually, Mira, is just to advise them. But then, see, the thing is, we advise them, but then because we have mostly the facts because of the members and of the
Right.
speakers,
Right.
so we could focus on what really is the services needed to be improved
right.
and what's
Okay,
lacking.
So for your citizen group now, it looks like you have 2 openings for family members.
Yes, and I would like
So
to.
what are you looking for? You can tell the audience.
Yes, I would really like to ask and suggest for, like I said, the Asian American
Uh huh.
and Latinos
Go ahead. Uh huh. Uh huh.
to please apply because they are we need them in the board.
Right. Right.
Yes.
And also, we have the Mental Health Service Act,
Right.
which has brought in numerous persons with the consumers.
Right.
And they are working now. They've gone to school. They've gotten training.
Right.
And they're out in the community making things happen.
Right.
And they're able to go into the hospitals around the drugs that they've used, and now
Right.
they've cleaned up their act. They're the best advocates.
Sure,
They're
right.
the very best. And that's through the Mental
Yes.
Health Service Act.
So who should they call to apply for these positions?
Oh,
For the Mental Health Board,
yeah.
Right.
that would be
You have a 255-3474-415 number, and
We put in the application and then we forward that to the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors appoint the members.
it's a good thing that the
yes.
board supervisors have taken a keen interest in
Yes.
mental health.
And it's a real plus to be on the
Right,
mental
yes.
health board, because when you go out and speak and they say, well, who are you? Well, I sit on the board. Oh, you do. So
Right,
it's a
right,
real
right.
plus. So we need people definitely
Right.
to come in and sit in the meetings and just observe. If they're not ready to join, come and sit in the
Right.
room and understand what takes place there.
Yes.
God, I can only imagine how long those meetings are, huh?
Not that long
No.
at all.
No?
Actually,
We're
no.
we're very strict. Yeah.
I mean,
Me
mental
too.
health. Once you
She
start,
cracks the gravel.
Oh, good. Somebody's gonna do the dirty
from
job.
6:30 to 8:30 max.
I mean, because once you start talking about mental health, I mean, you can go on forever. I mean, I would think.
You can, but then you address what's urgent.
Right,
what's
right.
the urgency?
Yes.
And let's start
Okay,
moving
we're,
with
we're
that.
running out of time. I'm sorry. 22
Okay.
minutes go so fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are a couple of openings for the mental health board, and if you would like to apply for a couple of the seats, or people who do, please call 415-255-3474. That's 255-3474, or send an email to mhb@mhbsf.org. And that's the mental health board. They have a website, mental health board, and they're under the Department of Public Health. Well, ladies, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so
you.
much
Thank
for
you so much
joining
for giving us the
tonight.
opportunity.
Yes.
And
You know.
welcome. You can come back again. Good night.
Okay.
Good night.